In this video, we're going to be focusing on the data export that you can run at the end of a voting presentation. So the data that you can send out to Excel once you've finished your meeting or course. So what you'll see here is that we've got some voting slides that already have data. So I've got some results on these slides already. So this question is an opinion-based question and we don't have a graph, we just have text labels for the results. This question, obviously we've got a graph, but I've also set a correct answer for this one. So people that choose option 4 will have got a point. This one again is an opinion one, so there won't be any points given for any specific answer here. So first let's have a look and see what our default export would look like. So to run the export, we go to add-ins, click a pad, voting results, and we choose this first option here, view/export data to Excel. So what it will do is give us a little preview first once it's worked through and had a look at all the slides, and then we can send it out to Excel. So while we're on this preview screen, we cannot change anything. We can't type in this. All that we can do is see the data that's landed. So if we now go to the summary, this will show us every question in its own row and how many people voted for each of the options. Wherever you see green, what this is that is the correct answer. So in my example, nobody's going to get a point because nobody chose option 4 for that question. So the next tab is our audit trail per keypad. So we can see none of the keypads have got any points. So they've all scored 0% in my test. And then we've got a column here for each of the questions, so we can see what answer they did give. If we want to, we can have a look at all of those tabs by number rather than percentage, but usually I don't spend any time on this preview at all. I just have a look, make sure that there's some data in there, and then I click this one here, export to Excel, because this is when we get an editable and savable version. So let's do that. And what it will do is it'll create an Excel spreadsheet for you that it will name according to the name of the presentation. So my presentation is voting presentation for participant list training. So it's copied that, and all it's done is just added a date and time stamp to that. We can change that if we want to, so we can results for session 1, for example. So hit save, and it will go off and build an Excel workbook. So we just have to wait a moment. You can see that it's doing its thing and working through all the different tabs. And we've now got a workbook like this one. So what it does is it gives us the different views. So it gives by percentage and it gives by number of votes across all of these. Obviously the last one, there's not a percentage one because these are the individual votes per keypad. So what we know here is keypad 1 didn't score any points. They voted option 3 for question 1, they voted option 3 for question 2, and they voted option 1 for question 3. So this is often enough, but it is possible to add more information about the participants in your session. So you can have what's called a participant list. Now we can create that per presentation, or you can have one that you use all the time. So there's two different purposes for using this. One is some people like to store the names of the trainees. So instead of having keypad 1, keypad 2, we could have this with the names of the individual voters. Another is to add more information about those voters. So what we're going to have a look at is how we use a already created participant list. So if somebody's already made one and shared it with you, you can just save it into the folder. But we'll also have a quick look at how you can create your own. So I'm just going to close that down now and go back to our PowerPoint here. So if we have a look inside the folder for our training session, all that we've got here is 2 files, the presentation and the results for that session. So we've got, it always saves it into the same folder as the presentation. So we've got those. What we're looking to add here is the participant list that I've created in advance. So I'm just going to grab a copy of that. So let's take that from there, and then we'll go back into our folder, and I'm just going to paste that into this folder. So the voting software is only ever going to look for this within its own folder. If you've got this saved anywhere else, it won't find it. Another thing that will stop it from being found is if you edit that name, it must always just stay in exactly the format that you're seeing there. So don't make any changes to that or it won't be able to read it. So I'm just going to open that file so that you can see what's on it. If somebody's made one of these for you, there's no reason for you to ever open it or change it, because if it's done, it's done. So what we can see here is in my one, I've got some extra columns. So I've got a column where we can input their membership number. I've got a column here for whether they've passed or failed the course. And I've got another one that I've just named as other comments. We could equally be putting names in. So if I say keypad 1 is Lynn, and keypad 2 is Dana, keypad 3 is Martin, keypad 4 is Simon, and so forth. So we could be adding all of the names in here. We're not going to talk about weightings today. General advice, please just don't touch that. Leave the weightings as 1, and the same with this column here, just leave it, but you can add other columns into here if you need to. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're actually not going to put anybody's membership numbers and things in at this point. If we did, it will show straight away on the data export, but we're going to do this as though this is a template that we fill in after the course is run. If there is nothing in these columns, it will ignore them. So we have to put something into here. Okay, so let's hit save on that. And then what we're going to do is run that export again, and we should be able to see the extra information. So we're going to go through the same process. So we go to here, voting results, view/export. And what we'll do this time is we're going to skip past the other tabs, but we're going to go straight to having a look at the audit trail tab, the one that gives you the per participant information. So let's go to here, results by keypad. And what you can see here is we've got these extra columns that we didn't have before. So those match with my participant list. So this time when I say export to Excel, it's going to do exactly the same thing again. And I'm going to copy that file name there, but I'm going to call this session 2. So we'll pretend that this is a different set of data, just so that we can see the extra files in here. Okay, so it's wearing away, building that file again for us. So key things to remember so far: don't change the name, and make sure that that participant list file is in exactly the same folder as your presentation, not a different subfolder or anything. You've got to be able to see them together like this. So there's my presentation and there's that participant list. So now let's go and have a look at our new Excel. So this is results for session 2, results by keypad. We now have this information here. So we might not know until the end of the course what the answer is here, particularly something like, has Lynn passed or failed? We're not going to know that until we can see this score. So if we've got a percentage pass mark, so they have to achieve 70%, for example, we would look at this column and say this person has failed. So membership number is 12345, for example, and this person unfortunately has failed the course. And then you could put some other comments here, or you could simply delete these if you don't have the extra information. So you literally go through and edit this in the Excel. So you can't do it in the preview, but you can do it in the Excel. Okay, so that's working with a participant list that's already been created for you. So if you've got one and it's in another folder for another presentation but you want to reuse it, just paste a copy into the folder for this presentation. But let's now have a look at what happens if you haven't got one at all. So let's close everything down for ease. Okay, so I'm just going to change the name of this, which will stop it from working. So any change here is going to lose its link to that participant list. So I'm just going to change that so I haven't got to actually delete it. And I'm going to go back into my voting presentation. So at this point, we're imagining that we do not have a participant list. We don't have one that we can grab a copy of from another folder. So we've got to create from scratch. So what we do here is we go into the ClickerPad menu and set up, and you're probably all familiar with going to set up keypads to go and test the equipment, but what we're going to do this time is this one here. We're setting up participants or keypad names. So this will create for us a participant list, but a pretty blank one. So what you can see here is we've got custom labels. So don't touch these, but custom ones, you can have anything that you want here. So that might be, let's say we want department here and region here, for example. And you might not want to use custom label 3. So let's say this one is Lynn, and Lynn is from sales in the South region. Okay, so we could go through, fill that in for all the different people. So let's pop in. Let's just do one more. And we've got Simon from the development team, and he's also based in the South. And we don't have any other information for custom label 3. So all we've got to do now, hit save on that. We don't even need to leave this open because it just reads it in the background. So I'm just going to close that down, and let's just run this again. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to overwrite the votes on here. Let's make sure that somebody gets some of this right. So let's just go full screen on that one, and I'm going to hit V to open the vote again on this one, and this time I'm going to make sure that some people answer the question correctly. So I'm keyboard voting. That's something you can ask us about separately, but you can do this instead of getting your keypads out if you're just testing. So let's close that down. We should get some people with some points now, so that should help in terms of looking at this export. So let's escape out. We're at the end of our presentation, and we're going to repeat the process again. So we're going to go to voting results, view/export, and it should go and find the information that's in the new participant list that we've just freshly created. And again, of course, we could revert to the one that I've labelled as old, because we can delete that participant list and rename the other one back to the correct name. But let's go and have a look and see what it's done. Okay, so we've got Lynn from sales, and Lynn has got 100%. And we've also got Simon from development. And unfortunately, Simon didn't answer that question correctly, so he's got 0%. So at this point, let's say export to Excel. Once we're in Excel, we can make any changes we want to. So you're not really stuck. If you've forgotten to add a column, you can do something at this point. So what we're going to do is copy that name again. We're going to call this results for session 3 and hit save. And once we're here, it's not talking to the PowerPoint anymore. This is just a standalone Excel. You can do whatever you need to here. It will not affect your participant list. It will not affect what's happened within your PowerPoint. This is just a separate Excel now. So it's a bit of one-way communication. It draws the information in from the voting software into here, but it never sends anything back. So let's just go to that important last tab again. So here we've got department and region, and then we've got custom label 3. So I'm going to put this in as, I'm going to say result, and I'm going to add in here Lynn pass, Simon fail, sorry Simon. And then let's imagine we really needed some more information and we'd forgotten to do it. You can just do that as normal. This is Excel, so let's just insert a column and say comments, and we've got no comments here, and we've got a reset. I don't know that that's right or not. Let's say we've got a reset booked with Simon. So okay, it's failed, but we're going to reset and it's already arranged. So I can come back to that information anytime that I want. And obviously you can make these columns wider, narrower, all the usual things that you can do within Excel you can do here. Okay, so let's just hit save on that, and that's our final set of results. So hopefully that's explained the participant list quite well for you. So just to recap, at the risk of being boring, the important thing here is that this name must not get changed, and this file must be in exactly the same folder as your presentation. So long as when you open the folder you can see both things, then it should all work absolutely fine for you.